Hi, Agnes.
Hi, how are you?
Great to see you.
Nice to see you.
Well, I'm glad we have a little bit of time to chat and talk about all things egg freezing.
I know, me too. Thanks for doing this. Um,
Yeah, you run a blog too, so that's kind of how we met. And
yeah,
Frozen Please, which is a really great resource for women about egg freezing. Love it.
thank you.
But how about we talk a little bit about who you are and where you live, what you do,
Yeah,
and get to know you a little bit.
absolutely. So, my name is Agnes Fischer, and I live in New York City. I work in advertising. I've lived in New York since I graduated from SDSU in 2001. So, I've been here quite a while now. And I'm not a writer by trade, but I did start a blog when I went through my egg freezing experience. And the blog was actually started not just for egg freezing, but in general to really raise awareness around fertility and how getting pregnant isn't as easy as we may think. I was married for about 3 years, and my ex-husband and I spent quite a bit of that time actively trying to get pregnant, both with and without and with medical help. And that got me thinking that really there isn't enough conversation around the issue of fertility and how quickly and early in life it starts to decline. So um,
How old were you when you got married?
I was 30 when we got married, 30 or 31 when we got married, and then we started trying to have kids probably around 32, 33. And there was nothing medically wrong with us, but it never happened for us. And I think I was really surprised to find how difficult it was, and also how little real human conversation there was around it. And so shortly after we separated, I decided to freeze my eggs. I was still relatively young. I was about 36 when I froze my eggs. And at that time, I just felt like, given how hard it was to get pregnant, well, how hard it was to try and get pregnant at 33, 34, I thought I should probably put my eggs on ice and save them for later.
Was it hard to like find the clinic you wanted to go to and to accept that process when you were trying to have a baby that then you change your mind and freeze your genetics essentially and then not get pregnant?
So, a lot of questions there. For me, finding a fertility clinic in New York was not hard. I have a great gynecologist, Dr. Samantha Dunham, and she knew that my ex husband and I were trying to get pregnant. And after about a year had gone by, she recommended Dr. Nicole Noyes, who actually contributed to the book as well and wrote the foreword. And it took a while to
Yeah,
get into
your
the.
eggs unscrambled. Love it. Just got my copy.
Oh, good. Hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I can't put it
Uh,
down.
So it took a while to get in to see her because lots of women in New York City are going for fertility treatments. It took me probably about 4 months to get the appointment. But my fertility journey probably started with my gynecologist, who told me that I needed to track my ovulation and when I'm ovulating. And she made me aware that I could really only get pregnant anywhere from 3 to 5 days out of the month, which I probably had learned at some point in early sex education, but never really crossed my mind because we're so busy trying not to get pregnant that I just kind of assumed you could get pregnant just about any day of the month. And so, we started with the ovulation kits every month, and then we finally got in to see Dr. Noyes, went through Clomid, went through IUI, a couple of rounds of that, and then ultimately, when IUI didn't work, Dr. Noyes said it's time to graduate up to IVF. And at that point, we decided actually we were going to separate and go our own ways. And so it was a real sort of shock to the system to go from trying to have a family to suddenly thinking about egg freezing so that I could have a family in the future. But I'm so glad I did it. It took me about a year to actually finally go and have my eggs frozen after I was separated. And I went back to the same doctor, Dr. Noyes again. She is one of the early experimenters of egg freezing here in the U.S. And has a big practice not just around IVF and fertility treatments, but also egg freezing. So it was a little strange going back to the same doctor that I was trying to get pregnant with, but she's the best, and I didn't want to go anywhere else. And I felt very comfortable with her. So I went back there.
Well, so that kind of led you into writing the book, I'm assuming, or through that journey, writing was very therapeutic in your journey?
Yeah, so that led me into writing the blog. And the blog was meant to be really just a lighthearted isn't the right word, but I had done so much research leading up to fertility, and everything was very brochure and medical and just not very friendly or human. So I decided to start a blog to kind of talk very openly about this issue and to start encouraging women at a younger age to think about their fertility more proactively. And so I started the blog. I tracked the whole egg
Frozen
freeze.
Please, right? That's what it's called, frozenplease.com.
That's right, frozenplease.com. And so there I tracked my journey, and you contributed to that. I had a lot of great women contribute to that and tell their stories of egg freezing as well. So after I started frozenplease.com, a publisher took notice of it. She loved the tone of it. She loved how honest I was about it, and she recognized that egg freezing was such a timely manner and asked me if I would consider writing a book. I naively said absolutely, because I thought, how hard can it be to write a book?
This is not a small book. This is like almost 200 pages.
Yeah. And hopefully it's easy reading. I purposely, tried to write in a very kind of normal speak layman's terms language.
You were very raw and real and like down to earth.
Thank you. Yeah, that was the tone that I was going for. But that's what led me to write the book. I never imagined that I would be writing a book, certainly not a book about fertility, but it's a topic that I became quite passionate about. So I decided to spill it all in Eggs Unscrambled.
Well, you're definitely helping a lot of women learn about fertility and the benefits of egg freezing and how it could fit in their life. It really is a personal choice, and you had your own really unique journey to get here, but it sounds like you're in a good place, and like this is giving you a little bit of security in some sense.
Yeah, I think one of the things that aside from the fact that I froze my eggs, I've had a lot of time to think about fertility, because when I was writing Eggs Unscrambled, I had to dig really deep and think about all kinds of angles. And I interviewed a lot of women and talked to, a lot of women who have frozen their eggs or have thought about it and decided not to. And I also met a woman who had a baby at 50. So
Wow.
I talked to so many women and explored the topic from so many angles that I really now feel like my story can end however I want it to. I think I went through my 20s and early 30s thinking that families are me and a loving partner and a baby or two or three. And I think what I'm realizing is that there's probably another way as well, and that it's also okay if I decide that I don't want to have children after all. I think that we get so tied to this narrative around having children and having a family, and because time runs out at some point, it puts a lot of pressure on us. And I think when you take the pressure of time out of it, you actually start to think about what are other ways to live my life. So I'm in a really good place. I think I probably do want kids. I'm not walking away from that, but I don't have that sense of urgency and that sense of pressure and almost desperation that I had when I was actively trying to get pregnant with my ex-husband.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can kind of sense that.
Yeah, which is why I so encourage women to start thinking about fertility earlier, because I think the earlier you start to address it and the earlier you start to plan for how your life might go, I think the more free or the freer of all the pressures you will be. And I really think that women should be thinking about this as early as their 20s. Not that everyone has to rush out and freeze their eggs, but at least be conscious of the fact that we don't have all the time in the world. And unfortunately, time does run out. And so you have to think about your options the same way that you start thinking about retirement relatively early in life. You should start thinking about family planning earlier in life.
Right, the same way, and realize that family doesn't come in just one shape or form.
That's right.
Yeah, that's really great. Well, what's next for you? You're just a bunch of appearances?
I'm promoting the book in social. My publisher is promoting the book on social. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny to see my face over on the other side there.
Is that you?
That's me, yeah.
That's you? Oh, that's a great picture.
Thank
you shouldn't have covered your eyes, except for, I guess, you were trying to be anonymous, right?
Well, it was funny. I had a long conversation with a publisher about whether or not I felt comfortable with my face being on the cover of the book, and ultimately she convinced me that I absolutely needed to have my face on the cover of the book, and then they covered me with eggs, which is fine. It's a great design, and they did a great job with it. But I want to get as many women to read this book as possible. Again, I'm not a writer by trade. I'm not an author. I'm not going to quit my day job. So for me, it's not about book sales. It's really about getting the message out there and having women think about their fertility and their options earlier. One of the things I talk about is that having a bit of reproductive freedom is the ultimate form, or one of the ultimate forms of feminism, because it levels the playing field. Mm-hmm. And I think in a world where, increasingly there really is very little difference in terms of what we can achieve. And so why have this one last thing sort of stand in the way? And not to say that we can completely control it, but just even being aware of it and sort of influencing and directing and guiding it in the right direction is key.
Yeah, I mean, you could still have children naturally. Maybe this is just for kid number 2 or kid number 3. So right. I think, it has many different benefits.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, it's so nice chatting with you. I feel like your message is right on point, and a lot of women will really be helped by this book. So thanks for putting your raw story out there and being really vulnerable and spreading the education of learning about your options and taking advantage of what's best for you, because it really is a personal choice.
It is.
But yeah, how can we follow you or keep up with you as you go through this book journey?
Well, you can follow Regan Arts, but you can also follow me at Ag Fish on Twitter and Aggie Fish on Instagram, so that I can promote the book. And that's probably where I do most of my promotional stuff. So feel free to follow me there.
Okay, great. We'll put all the links in the page below.
Yeah.
Well, any final thoughts or words of wisdom for someone that maybe hasn't frozen their eggs yet and are debating the topic?
Well, I would say read the book because it lays out all of the journey of egg freezing. And I would say just to do your research and seriously consider it. I think ultimately it's about having options. And I know that the thought of egg freezing is scary. I know it's expensive. But I do think that having options is probably the thing that makes life the most comfortable, and it's when you're most confident. So think about that and do some homework and research. And if you can, you should absolutely try and freeze your eggs.
Mm-hmm. I think also reaching out to women like you or maybe other people that have frozen their eggs and hearing their stories can be really comforting to have like that friend to do it with, or to lean on during the process.
Absolutely. And I'm very reachable on social. I get back to everyone that reaches out to me with questions about this topic, because I agree with you. I think it's so important to be able to talk to women who have gone through it about it. Otherwise, it's kind of a mysterious process. And I'm happy to answer any questions about it or how I reached my decision or any of those things. I'm quite available.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Agnes. Great catching up with you. We'll see you soon.
Nice to see you. Bye-bye. Bye.